this video, I tell you about the murder of Ajit Kumar closing down a convenience store. Then I take you to the crime scene. Welcome to True Crime Beyond. At 5 a.m. in the morning of August 25th, 2014, in the Norwood Manor neighborhood of South Atlanta, a call came into 911. In a neighborhood convenience store named the Big Brother 2 Food Mart, the clerk was found dead of a gunshot wound. The victim was Ajit Kumar Dwivedi. He was 23 years old and an exchange student from India that had moved to Atlanta after being in Iowa for school. Ajit was shot 6 times, twice in the head. It was discovered that Ajit was tallying up the register, so it was assumed that he was shot as he was closing up the store. The money from the register and a laptop was reported missing from the store. As with many convenience stores, there were plenty of cameras in and around the building. As the police canvassed the adjoining neighborhood, there was one eyewitness that noticed a suspicious car parked in the vicinity of the store at around the time of the murder. The eyewitness said that she did not hear the gunshots, but after hearing about the timing of the murder, she said that it was about that time when she noticed that the car was no longer there. Luckily, the security cameras were working, and the 3 cameras showed clear video of the whole crime taking place. Security video showed that as Ajit was locking up the food mart, he was approached by a person with a gun and forced back into the store. After a scuffle on the inside, the killer shot Ajit, who fell to the ground right inside of the door. After running away from the body, the killer turned around and coldly shot Ajit again, as to make sure that he was dead. The video clearly showed the killer's face, and after going to the media for help to identify him, several tips came into the police saying that they recognized the way the killer walked and even the bag that he was carrying. The killer was identified as 17-year-old Garen Hill. A Detroit native, he had already been known to the police for the previous conviction of car theft and had only been out of prison for 3 months prior to this murder. A witness that lived in the neighborhood testified that Hill had been at their house on the night of the murder for a birthday party. Not long after midnight, they heard gunshots and identified Hill in a lineup. After several weeks of searching for Hill with a warrant for his arrest, he was found back in Detroit. Under interrogation, Hill initially stated that he admitted the person in the video looked like him, but he doesn't remember it. However, he proceeded to admit that he was at the neighborhood party and was in need of cash. He admitted going to the store and said that when he pointed the gun at the clerk, he saw that Ajit was defending himself and he thought he was reaching for a weapon. He said the gun went off and admitted that he had killed Ajit. Hill was extradited back to Atlanta and subsequently charged and found guilty of murder. He received a life sentence for the crime. What is odd about this crime scene is the fact that it is at a convenience store that is literally at the top of a residential neighborhood. There are no other stores in the area, only schools, churches, and neighborhoods. A crime scene that is unassuming and unlikely. A crime that was random and brutal. So as we drill down into the crime scene, the first thing that we can notice about it is that it takes place in Atlanta, Georgia, and more specifically in this south section of Atlanta, Georgia. As you can see in context what we have here, of course, Atlanta is surrounded by this perimeter 285, and in this corner, the south corner of the city, it's kind of bordered by this Interstate 20 that goes through Atlanta from east to west or west to east, and then we have this connector, which is the connecting of 85 and 75 north to south through Atlanta. And in this section over here, we have what's called South Atlanta. And as 285 comes back around here, it's really this section of the city that the murder took place. This neighborhood that where the murder scene is at is actually called Norwood Manor, and as you can see, it's kind of surrounded by a lot of industrial companies. You can see a lot of warehousing, you see a lot of shipping crates, a lot of shipping going on here, but it's really surrounded by a lot of that industry. You can also see in context there's the United States Pen right here. You see Zoo Atlanta up here, Lakewood's down here. But as you can see, there's a lot of industry in this area. It's kind of an old area of the city as well. This neighborhood is actually pretty old. We've seen maybe its better days in the past, but you can see there's some churches here. There's this Seventh-day Adventist church. There's a church here. There's another church here. And this Atlanta Youth Academy is actually a kind of Christian-based school, kind of pre-high school, pre-middle school, Christian-based school. So that's really close to the murder scene. But again, it's an old neighborhood, Norwood Manor. And as we drill down into it, you'll see kind of what we're talking about. And what's interesting about this this neighborhood is you have all these houses and all these streets that go through here, but at the top of the neighborhood in this this area right here is actually a convenience store, and we see that in the episode. It's kind of strange to have like a convenience store right at the top of a neighborhood, and I don't think that's anywhere else around in these other surrounding neighborhoods, but it's kind of strange, unique to this neighborhood, and it's been there for quite a while. I was looking at some of the older satellite views of this area, and this building's been here for quite a long time. There used to be actually a house that was next door to it. No longer the case. There's some houses here, obviously, and around here, but this is really at the top of the neighborhood, and there's nothing next to it. So there's a little bit of element of isolation here, which maybe kind of leads to the idea of the murder taking place. So we'll go ahead and drill down into this to see what we're really looking at from the street view. So here we are at the food mart, and as you can see, it's really at the top of the neighborhood here. You have a couple of houses here and here, and then you have across the street this convenience store. And as was mentioned, there's a lot right here that used to be a house here, but it's long gone, and now it's just covered up with asphalt, and it's kind of a cut through and maybe even a quasi parking lot. And as a matter of fact, whenever I was down here, all these parking spaces were full. There was a guy here parked, and he was delivering supplies, food, drinks here. And there were people just parked here and down here, wanting to go into the food mart to get some stuff. So not much going on here. As I mentioned, this is the school, the private school here. It's the Atlanta Youth Academy. That's relatively new here, but other than that, this is pretty much an old part of Atlanta, on Norwood Road in Lewis, and not much going on. It is a little bit odd that there's a convenience store here. I mean, it may not have always been a convenience store. It was a storefront for something. It could have been even a garage or something like that at one point in time, but this structure has been here for a long time. But yeah, this is it. This neighborhood is, it's okay. It's not great. It's not sure about any crime statistics or anything like that. It's an older part of the city in an industrial area. So yeah, this is it. And you kind of see, this is kind of an isolated area. You have these two houses right here, but it's on, this looking to the side of this house, not to the front, but the side, and kind of catty cornered into the carport here. So, when people are inside, they're probably not paying much attention going this way. And so, especially late at night, when this murder took place, probably 11, 12 at night, Can only imagine that maybe the perpetrator was maybe laying in wait here, waiting for somebody to come out, or waiting for the opportunity to come in and rob the food mart. In the episode, the first 48 episode mentioned that he was visiting somebody here. I guess there was a party somewhere in this neighborhood, and he kind of just slipped away. And I guess coming in, he noticed that this was here, and he tried to rob it to get some money. But apparently, he had come from this area. As you can see in the episode, in the surveillance video, you see him coming from this way, right here, and approaching Ajit right here. And this, fortunately, this surveillance camera caught all of that on tape. Caught him in the confrontation at the front of the convenience store, and then going inside, where he was ultimately killed. And I will say, I actually went inside this convenience store, and it's really tight in here. There's not a lot of space side to side. It goes back fairly good amount, but side to side is very tight. So not a lot of room. Like when they fought originally, it's right here in the beginning of this entryway. Just interesting how that is. But yeah, not much going on here. Again, this old neighborhood in South Atlanta, food mart at the top of the neighborhood, isolated a little bit from the other houses, and so you can see how this could have taken place, and maybe a prime opportunity for someone to take advantage of this food mart, this convenience store.